memory alloy material, which is nitinol, is higher. In other words, it is more flexible for the given applied load. So therefore, we conclude that nitinol is more flexible than stainless steel, so that it can sustain the load, so it doesn't crack in the long term. For a given load, the nitinol material is much better than stainless steel. So therefore is also, we have also found a uniformly expand for uniformly actually expand. So these are for self-expanded, a system which the shared memory alloy is part of it. So conclusion, as I said, is that shared memory alloy is better than the stainless steel for this study. So further, what we didn't consider that what if in reality we have got a flow of blood? We didn't even consider that. So we considered that a quasi-static situation where we have, a static load very slowly applied. So therefore, we have to consider that the hemodynamic, around the stand. So we haven't really considered the real scenario where the blood is flowing everywhere and so on. But this is the first study that my master's student did, and I hope it has been useful. Thank you.
Thank you, Jawad, for your wonderful presentation, sir. It was a great, topic to listen to and understand also. Nicely presented. I would like to get in touch with you. Please share your email ID. So we'll see how the next type of research can be collaborated and taken forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. As the time is constrained, I will go ahead with the next presenter for the day. Ashok Kumar, do we have them?
Yes, sir, I'm present.
Yeah, please share your presentation, sir.
So is the slides visible?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Good afternoon. So the topic of the paper was awareness of intellectual property rights among students of Bangladesh, a pre-TRIPS adoption analysis. So I'll start by explaining a bit about what intellectual property is. According to WTO, intellectual property or IP is can be termed as any creative creation, and it is important because there are many business applications of IP. For example, Coca-Cola, the biggest strength of Coca-Cola is that their secret formula for their product. WTO has this TRIPS agreement. It's an abbreviation for trade-related aspects of intellectual property rights. It came into effect in 1995, but it's important for Bangladesh because we still have this waiver for adoption of TRIPS, but the deadline for it is till 2034. So we have to prepare ourselves. So for this paper, we have taken a sample of from MBA students. I'm also an MBA student, so we've targeted my immediate junior batch. To ensure the maximum diversity of their point of view, we have picked people from engineering and as well as business grads, a BBA and engineering background. So we did a simple random sampling, and then we conducted 2 FGD sessions, and there were 7 participants. So the data analysis was done by, we recorded the transcripts, and then the thematic analysis was done by in vivo 10. So we tried to understand the thoughts and practices and similarities and differences in the understanding of what IP is and what is its effect on business. So what we found that they were not very aware of that they've taken for granted that the price of medicine should be low, as they some were even saying that it's a necessity for having a good life. But there is a business aspect to it. There is a whole economic that goes behind it, and the reason why the price of medicines is so low is because the global pharma giants, they allow us to you know not pay very much for the patented drugs and use that formula to produce generic medicines for the mass community, so at least they can afford it. So, then the participants had very little idea about the differences between product and process patent. In a nutshell, patent can be, in details, you can patent specific formulas. You can include specific components for maybe a chemical reaction, and you can patent that. So it goes under process, and product patent is a completely different thing. Now, they don't know what compulsory licensing is. Compulsory licensing, it's a completely separate provision under TRIPS, which says that government can intervene if it sees that, for example, if there are two companies in one country and they have total monopoly, so they have patented one drug and no one else can produce it. So government can intervene and say, you cannot charge 100 bucks for it. You have to keep it maybe below 50, so the mass can intervene. So our participants for the FGD didn't have any idea about what compulsory licensing was. And then we saw that geographical indication, they haven't even heard about it. They had very limited knowledge about it. They were saying that they would use patent provision to IP protect things like Jamdani Shadi, Hilsha, but the global practices to protect bring these products under IP protection using geographical indication. For example, in India, I guess uh, there is this tree that is being used. It has this fragrance, I guess, and it's used to make this fragrant product. I'm not sure what the name is. So it comes under geographical indication. And then we saw that RMG sector is going to take the biggest hit after the TRIPS adoption. It's because Bangladesh is enjoying GSP facilities. What it means that Bangladesh has duty-free access to European countries. So we don't have to pay any duties on our exports. But once we we have to after we adopt the TRIPS agreements, we have to play by the rules. So we'll lose a big chunk of our market share to neighboring countries like India, Vietnam. Cambodia is also doing good. So in conclusion, as we see that students will be entering the business market in the coming decades. So their knowledge gap in the IP sector means that they will not be able to play, hand in hand with the global, with their global competitors. So it's a gap that the government should address. And I think the global stakeholders should also come forward. And there is also one agreement in provision in TRIPS that says that the developing countries should share knowledge. However, it's very vague. There is no clear indications or points that says, yeah, maybe you arrange 10 workshops a month, 15 workshops a month. There is no clear guidance or instructions on the nature of this knowledge sharing from the developed countries to the underdeveloped countries. So that was it. Thank you all.
Thank you for your presentation. Nice
Thank you,
effort you have put with respect to IPR field.
Thank you.
So good. We'll go ahead with the next presenter then. I call upon Prabhakar Deshpande.
One second. The document comes. Hold on. Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir. We are
Can you
able
see
to
the-
hear you, sir.
Can you
Please
see the
share.
Can you see the document? One second. Okay, I'll go without the presentation. So basically, my presentation is known as down to earth industrial engineering. Industrial engineering is basically optimization of people, processes. Okay, down to earth industrial engineering. So industrial engineering is optimization of complex processes, systems, and organization by developing, improving, and implementing systems of people, money, knowledge, information, and equipment. So the key word here is optimization. So what is optimization? Optimization is making best use of that to make best use of. Except industrial engineering is first in the factory setup, retail setup. What the concept of optimization sense of engineering is applied every time. And basically, our industrial engineering is around same optimization, but not applied to factory, office, or research. Industrial engineering is a mindset, it's technology. It's not reduced to methodology. However, can drain mindset. In the industrial engineering, which is a degree program in various universities, there are supply chain management, research, production planning, work system design, and now a new subject can be introduced for industrial engineering. I stay in Mumbai, and Mumbai, the trains are so crowded. I'm like, can these people enter the train? And worse, they can fall down from the train and thus risk their life. So how can you solve that problem? You apply optimization. Make peak hour travel expensive. You make offices move to the other side of town. You rotate holidays. You allow encourage work from home. You have flexible work. There's educational stress. And I mean, I have experienced educational stress. How 3-day holidays in each exam? That will reduce the stress. The 1 month where the exams are held, remove the stress from 3.5 months where there are no examinations. A continuous assessment instead of mid-semester examinations, however, at the end of each lecture, so 45 minutes the lecturer takes lecture. After there is a 10-minute assessment at the end of lecture. Not exam-based assessments, such as project reports, textbooks, lectures. Election cost a lot of money. People have found that rallies don't string. It's bad. It's inefficiency of election campaign. Then there can be campaigning by our social media, like Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp on its mobile phones, conferences. So if you apply the option of industrial engineering to election campaigning, online delivery, there are so many delivery channels here. Amazon, I mean, each of them, and there are each of them have their own delivery channel. Why not only one delivery channel, postal delivery? Let these online delivery channels put into a pickup points where people pick it up, or deliver it to regional from where there are multiple delivery channels. Government overstaffing efficiency. I mean, government is known to overstay 10 times, 4 times. How about overseeing all government functions? Retirement scheme to government employees. Leave it to government, just income tax, etc. With more things outsourced to private sector. Privatize as much as possible. Downsize government. Yeah, it's not a chicken definition. An engineer doesn't $1 what he can't do it. Of course, it's just a joke. In this feeling, I would diverse creativity with common sort down to earth problems everywhere, everything, everything. Thanks. Any questions?
Thank you, sir. There were some network issues though.
Okay.
Yeah. So next, I would like to call upon Netrian. You can go ahead with the presentation.
How do I remove this?
Yeah. Netrian, please go ahead with the presentation.
Okay, do you hear me?
How do I remove this?
Okay. Is it okay or? Do you hear me, please?
Yes, we are hearing you.
Okay. And do you see my presentation? Do you see my presentation? It's okay?
Yeah, I can see presentation.
Okay, thank you. Okay, my name is Neritan Shkondrani. I am teaching at Civil Engineering faculty. And Civil Engineering faculty is part of Polytechnical University of Tirana. Here it is shown the main building of our Polytechnical University of Tirana. The title of my paper is Settlements Control on Shallow Foundation Design at Semani site in Albania. And the objective of this paper is just to calculate the bearing capacity of square footings by using different soil shear strength parameters of the soils that we can get from laboratory test and also from in situ test, especially from the CPTO test or cone penetration test. And also the design of settlements for square footings for different embedment depths and some accepted values which can range from 10 to 15 millimeters. At the end of this presentation, we have a discussion related to the bearing capacities and settlements of square footings, and after that, some conclusions are found. Here it is shown the Semani site, which is located at the western part of the Albania, as we can see here. And also here it is shown the construction site, where some site investigation are conducted by carrying out 3 boreholes, also combined also with the standard penetration test. And also 1 CPTO test is carried out up to a depth of 30 meters. In case when soil parameters, in case when it is difficult to obtain undisturbed samples, soil parameters, it is better to get from using in situ tests like the standard penetration test and well-known also cone penetration test. Standard penetration test is, as I said before, a well-known test, and it is conducted according to IASTEM standard. And from this kind of test, we can get the N value of CPT, which is called also the field value. But in our calculation, we have used the corrected SPT value, which is N60 value. And this value is corrected, the field value is corrected related to the hammer efficiency, borehole diameter, also the sample type and the road length. Also, the CPT test is carried out according to the ISER standard. And in our case, we have conducted a cone penetration test, which is by using a piezo cone. And by using the cone, this cone, we can get different parameters like the tip resistance, slip friction, and also the pore water pressure. Here it is shown the cone that we can push in ground by using an equipment, which is shown here, and we call this penetrometer. So we can get the cone resistance, we can measure the side friction, and also by using these parameters, we can calculate the friction ratio. And here in this page are shown the typical raw data that we can get from the cone penetration test, like for example the total cone resistance, also the friction ratio, the pore water pressure, and here we can see how we can evaluate or how we can find the type of soil based on that parameter, which is called soil behavior type index. Here are shown different soil parameters that we can get we can derive by using the data of CP2 test. And we can see here we have the soil profile and also different parameters that we can use in our calculation, and calculation of bearing capacity and calculation of settlements for the square foundations. For example, we can see the N60 value, we can see the relative density, friction angle, and also the shear resistance in undrained condition, etc. In this page here are shown the geotechnical, it is shown the geotechnical section, also our soil parameters, especially we can see here in the layer number 2, our foundation is supported in this layer, in layer number 2, and we can see that we have for this layer different parameters like the friction angle, like the shear strength resistance in undrained conditions. Also, we can see that we have drain condition of shear strength like the cohesion and the friction angle. Also here it is given the N value of CPT, and also here it is are given the value of the tip resistance or the value of the cone resistance. In order to calculate the bearing capacity of our foundation, which is the square foundation, we have used the Terzaghi's formula, which is shown here. We can see the ultimate value of the bearing capacity is given by this formula, when we can see the cohesion, effective cohesion, and also we can evaluate the NC value, NQ value, and N gamma value, which are the bearing capacity factors by using this formula, which are shown here, and also or in other cases, we can use just the friction angle in order to get this value. And if we have this value, after that, we can calculate the ultimate bearing capacity. And by using the ultimate capacity, we can calculate the global bearing capacity. Our calculations are done by using one Excel spreadsheet, which is developed by Coduto. And we can see here, based on this, different dimensions of the foundation, different shape. In this case, we have chosen the square shape, and also the different embedment depths. We have calculated the ultimate value, and based on this ultimate value, by using a factor of safety of 3, we have calculated global bearing capacity. By using the allowable bearing capacity, after that we can calculate the global column load that can support this square foundation or square footings. Our results are shown in a graphical way. In this figure, we can see the relationship between the load or the design vertical load and foundation width. We can use this. We can use just this graphs, just this table in order, just these graphs and tables also in order to get the dimensions of the foundation if we have the design vertical load. And this calculation are done for drain conditions, like it is shown here, or for undrained condition by using the lower bound values and also the upper bound values. If we look at these figures, we can see that in case of undrained condition, the value of allowable bearing capacity or the value of the design vertical load is decreased when we use the undrained shear strength of the soils. But when we calculate the foundations, we must fulfill 2 criteria, not only the bearing capacity, but also the settlement criteria. That's why, in order to make calculation easier, in order to fulfill both criteria, we are using not the bearing capacity, but a global bearing capacity QA value, which is the value that we can found, but determining the global bearing pressure based on bearing capacity analysis by using the smallest applied load, and also determine again the global bearing pressure based on settlement analysis now, but using the largest applied load. From both values that we have calculated, we can find the QA value, which is the lower value of the 2 global bearing pressures that we calculated as above. We see here, we have shown 2 foundations, and we see that foundation with small dimensions can be designed based on the bearing capacity, but in case of foundations with large dimensions, the settlements are controlling the design. In order to calculate the settlements, we have used the Schmerz-Matt method, where this value here, which is called the equivalent modulus of settlements. ES value is needed. Also, there are here are shown some coefficients, some factors, depth factor, secondary script factor, and also shape factor. But the most important factor that is used in this formula is just the ES value that we can determine from institute test in case of the sandy soils, and in case of clay soils, we can determine by using this formula, which use the parameters that we can find from the oedometer test or the consolidation test. And from the CPT test or institute test, we can find this formula by using the S60 value that we showed before. And also from the CPT test data, we can find the ES value that from this table based on the tip resistance of the cone that we show also that we have measured before from the CPT test. By using this Excel spreadsheet developed also by Corbuto, we have calculated settlements and by settlements for different dimensions of the foundation, for different embedment depth, and also by putting some limitation related to the settlements. And as we have mentioned before, the settlements are limited to 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50 millimeters, or from 1 to 5 centimeters. And here are shown the values, the ES values calculated from the CPT test, from the CPT test, from the SPT test, and also the ES value calculated for clay soil according to the compression index CC and CR. Also, the calculation again are shown in a graphical way. Also, we have also all the values in this table here. But as we can see here in this graph, so is related the vertical load or the allowable vertical load with the foundation width, and we can use these graphs in order to calculate the dimensions of the foundation. But in this case, it is fulfilled the settlement criteria. But as we can see, if we these are graphs for different embedment depth, you can see here for 1.5 meters, for 3 meters, and also for 4.5 meters. But as you can see, as we mentioned before, we have calculated bearing capacity and also the settlements, and we can use these both values in order to calculate, to design the foundation. First of all, we can calculate it for the settlement, because in case of the large dimensions, settlements are controlling the design of foundation. And after that, we can check if the bearing capacity of the foundation is fulfilled also. And then some conclusions we can read here, or we can found for different embedment depth of square footings. Calculated values of bearing capacity are different for the drained and undrained conditions, as we have shown before, and they are increased generally, these values, with depth, and values are larger for drain conditions. For different embedment depth of square footings, calculated values of load capacity are different for drained and undrained conditions. They are decreased when settlement criteria is considered. And the differences of load capacity values are significant in case of large foundations width compared to the small one. This is a confirmation of the fact that the design of shallow foundation is generally governed from the settlements, not bearing capacity. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for a wonderful presentation. Next, I would like to call upon Anape Henry Francis. Henry Francis.
Hello, colleague, do you see my presentation?
Please go ahead. Share the presentation.
Do you see, colleague?
Yeah,
My
please share the
presentation.
presentation, Lucy.
Okay, please wait. I must make a special
Okay.
connection to internet, please. And share content and screen. The screen.
Okay.
Please wait.
In the meantime, let me call the participants if they are here. Gayatri Pingale. We have Gayatri Pingale here. Okay. Do we have Kalin
Lucy?
Guraro? Kalin?
Please, Lucy.
You tell me, Lucy.
Yeah, Lucy.
Yeah, please share your presentation.
Okay, I do it, but I have a problem.
Yeah.
Please wait.
Okay.
Do you now see it?
Yes, yes, please.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we can see. Please go ahead. Try to wind it up by 8 minutes.
Okay, dear colleague in science, research, and practice, my name is Lucia Filakova. I come from and live in the Czech Republic, and I am studying in the last year of my PhD studies at Mendel University in Brno on Faculty of Business and Economics since September. And I'm writing my dissertation at Department of Law and Social Studies. And my research focused on exploring the issue of disability, attitudes from employing companies towards workers with disabilities, using research from the perspective of individual workers. And today I would like to present the results of the research in cooperation with my colleague, Mariana Pavelkova, from our university, from Marketing Institute. And this topic is progression of support and my presentation will consist of the following part, which briefly reflect my research on this topic. It's this, and now we are in a period of active social policy in the Czech Republic that has lasted almost 15 years. A mayor of influence on this supportive policy of the social pillar of the Czech Republic is European Union membership, the Social Democratic Party in power in earlier period, and the size of the groups of people with disabilities in the country, which is constantly growing. Currently, a company employing a worker with recognized disability of first to third degree obtains a contribution of 40,000.
Thank you. Maybe there is technical issues or something. Thank you. Is there any other presenter left?
Yeah, I'm here, Anape Henry Francis.
Okay, Anape, please share your presentation.
All right. Yeah, can you see the screen?
Yes, go ahead. Please go ahead and wind it up by 5 minutes.
All right. My name is Anape Henry Francis, a final year oil and gas master student at Tumen Industrial University, Russia. So today I'll be presenting on the effect of gap ratio on voltage-induced forces for cylinders in tandem at Reynolds number of 100. So I'll take you through the introductions, objective methodology, result, and discussion, and finally with the conclusion. All right, when it comes to offshore oil and gas industry, one of the major issues or problems that we normally or usually encounter is as a result of these subsea structures being exposed to what we call active water shedding or hydrodynamic loads. Now, these loads, why not minimize or reduce induces vibrations to these structures? which may lead to integrity and reliability issues. And we all know that when it comes to oil and gas industry, it is money intensive. Therefore, it's very significant or very valuable to conduct research into these areas to find the possible means of reducing this active water shedding or loads acting on these structures to prevent collapse of these structures. Right, in terms of investigations, a lot of research has been conducted for a group of cylinders or structures or a single structure, where the major focus has been to exposure of these structures to what we call a shear flow and then uniform external flow conditions. In terms of length to diameter and gap to diameter ratios, a number of investigations has also been conducted, but review of literature shows or indicate that there is a gap which needs to be filled in terms of gap to diameter ratios for a larger structures. So the aim of this work is to fill that gap, by investigating the fluctuations of water-induced loads, where we tend to find out how the gap ratios between two structures, affect the hydrodynamic coefficients acting on the downstream cylinder or the main structure. All right, so in this analysis, what we are trying to do is we have two structures which are arranged in tandem positions. And we are trying to find out how the distance between these structures affect the hydrodynamic coefficient or the forces acting on the main structure, which is the downstream cylinder, by putting in connection this structure to what we call an upstream cylinder. So these structures have been subjected to what we call external flow conditions of velocity of 1 meter per second, and the Reynolds number is 100, as already mentioned. And the computational domain which is being used for this simulation is 30 by 16. All right. The diameter ratio for the upstream cylinder varies from 0.3 to 2, and for the gap to diameter ratios, which is the main focus of this work, and which are the typical distance which is being used in the oil and gas industry, start from 0.1 to 4. And then methodologies that have been applied in this work is the CFD computational fluid dynamics or numerical methodologies, where we made use of ANSYS software, student version 2020. And we are trying to solve the Navier-Stokes equations for two-dimensional incompressible fluid using the finite volume method as a means of discretizing the mesh. Right, when it comes to numerical methodology, one of the major challenges that we usually face is the accuracy of the results being obtained at the end of the simulation. So it's very significant or very vital or important, to conduct a mesh independence test for the mesh which is being used for the simulation, and the results supposed to be compared to other numerical and experimental results of other research works. So what we did was we conducted a mesh independence test for a single structure, which has been exposed to a uniform external flow conditions of velocity of 1 meter per second. We are using the same computational domain for this test. And at the end of this test, we compared the result to other numerical results of Saka, Young-Tao, and then Saka and Brown. And we found out that for every mesh, the result which is being obtained for every mesh, the result agree well with those experimental and numerical results. So we can confidently or boldly say that at the end of the simulations, the result that we're going to obtain or get agrees well or are correct, agrees well with other numerical and experimental results, and they are good. So at the end of the simulations, several simulations were carried out for different diameter ratios and different gap to diameter ratios. And we found out that when you have a single structure, being subjected to fluid flow, the hydrodynamic coefficient or forces acting on that structure is higher when you have two structures in tandem, because the presence of the first structure is going to reduce the loads which have been acting on the main structure. So we can see from this graph that when this is the value for a single structure, and the hydrodynamic coefficient or drag coefficient acting on that structure is around 1.1. In the presence of another structure, we found out that for the hydrodynamic coefficient acting on the main structure, the value reduces. And as the diameter ratio of the upstream cylinder increases, the drag coefficient acting on the main structure also reduces. And we also found out that the best position in which two structures are supposed to be placed for them to have the minimum or experience the minimum vibrations or minimum forces acting on them, supposed to be from 0.1 to 1. And you see that as the distance between the two structures increases, the hydrodynamic coefficient acting on those structures also increases, which is similar for that of the lift coefficient. So with the conclusion, we finally found out that the presence of the upstream control cylinder reduces the drag coefficient of the downstream cylinder up to a value smaller than that of a single accelerated cylinder. And the increase of the gap to diameter ratio increases the mean drag coefficient. And the amplitude of the lift coefficient for the downstream cylinder is at maximum when the diameter ratio is 1 and that of 2. So finally, I would like to say that this project was made possible by the Science and University of the Russian Federation. So we'd like to acknowledge them for their support for making this project. No, this is not the complete project. We're actually working on this is just the first part of the project. We're actually working on other parts where we are trying to consider moving structures using different velocity profiles and see how those vibrations in those structures can be harvested, or converted into energy using energy harvested. All right, thank you for your attention.
Thank you for your wonderful presentation. Nice efforts of doing your research, intensive research, and all. Thank you. We'll be in touch. I'll take up. Right, please mail your email address. I'll be in touch to understand some more things. I'll now go ahead with the next presenter because of time shortage. I call upon next presenter Sujata. Please present and try to finish up by maximum of 5 minutes.
Hi, sir. Is it visible
Yes,
for my slide?
It is visible, ma'am. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon, all of you. My paper title is an evaluation study on criteria induces on investors to invest in derivative segments. So Sujata Pentreddy is a scholar in Geetham University. Oh, sorry. Before I'm going to give a small introduction for my topic, the stock market is having a variety of investment for the investor who are invested for the stock market investment. There are various segments in the format equity segment and derivative segment and commodity segment in both nationalized stock exchanges. This risk-return analysis in the derivative segment is quite different from the equity market, as a lot of criteria to be analyzed before making the investment. The derivative segment is largely used by the investor who have a sound technical knowledge towards the working of the stock market. The attraction in the derivative segment is largely from the maximum returns to compare the equity market. The investor pattern is related to significant chance of the investment in the derivative market. And the review of literature to found that the research gap in the basis of the review. The empirical study found in the literature profession change in the perception of investors toward the investing in the stock market. The usage of technical analysis and their impact to the returns in the analysis towards the investors. The role of fundamental analysis is a significant investor to long term as compared to major part of literature. The overview of the investor towards the derivative segments, vital role of the keep of the segment in the operations in the derivative segments. So the study aims to main criteria to follow the investor derivative segment, which is very additional to the existing literature. The statement of the problem to found in the previous literature. The problem is occur in that associated with the derivative market, lack of understanding, the value loss of plays quite a role in the investment criteria, which is related for the derivative segments. Those problems are analyzed from the retail investor, the point of view and exam criteria option to, the investor segment is, derivative segment is as the main problem of the study. You found that statement problem. You found that thesis questions we are arranged for that based upon the literature review. What are the various criteria to induce the investor to the optimum of the investing in the derivative segment of the stock exchanges? And what is the operational problem faced by the investor while investing in the derivative segments other than the equity and commodity market regularly participates investors? And we are objective to identify the various criteria. So those are induces in the retail investor to invest in the derivative segment And one more thing is operational problem to affect the investors in the making the derivative segment investment while they're investing in the short or long period. Here it's you followed the research methodology. The research methodology conducting the primary data, which is elected for the stockbrokers to under the customized the clients. Is based upon the research conduct demographic profile and the criteria of investment, derivative investment and operational problem who are faced in the derivative investment other than that equity. The segment is a different sub-variable to aim to measure the working of the life. So derivatives based on the opinions of the investor, which is not fundamentally supported at the technical, and the stockbrokers, which is they blindly follow for that analysis of from the authorization and fund managers. So we are conduct that 94% is the data collected on the cohort samples to follow that size to usually calculate the sample size. Here cohort sample size with the 99% significance level, unable to fix the sample size is 197. To collect the data, analyze using in the SPSS, which is means in the statistical package for the social science. You know all that. The data were coded and classified based on the analyzing data to gather that presentation of analysis and to use the data of the study. Here it is, you found that is based upon the collected of data and respondent. Here is a different significances to find that is various gender and age and material status, education level. Those who are having in a financial literacy is related to stock markets, but there are people are very scared about the risk parameters. To overcome that, based on that, you have a good knowledge and technical analysis, then you will get the minimum return to optimum level of the profit. And that you are a factor analysis, you found that according to the data analysis, the follow the results of factor analysis, which is used dimension to rejection, is for model follow that is the Kaiser-Meyer Oleken measure of the sampling adequacy, which is met the factor analysis to respond to calculated for the battery length to the approximately size square and of 456, and to differentiation significance is the time 39. To significance level is more than 0, it can sufficient to responded is positively. Here it is a total variance explained by the persons who are in his expectation equation, sphere loading and racial semester sphere loading, which is very cumulative and actual value of the percentage variance. This is the differentiation you to be to compare the significant and the based on the factor analysis. There is a compound matrix, which is means that somebody have a knowledge, but they don't invest it for the much more to investment in the stock market, but only they're depending upon the influenced by the friends and family, everyone. But they're only looking for that to simply invest and they can getting their money. Only they don't bother about the high returns and savings long for portfolio. These are picture is showing that the compound level of 3-factor analysis, diversification, nature of liquidity, low margins, and periodical reason, whether a longer period or a short-term period. So the basis upon the analysis, you found that factor analysis. And then is the second factor analysis based upon the objective level. The following explain the results of factor analysis based on the opinion of investors. The factor analysis carried out the dimension the problem now who are having in the face the derivative market segmentation. Here it is that the significance level is approximately size square. You found that according to the response in the 855.585, and the differentiation is a 66. And then significance level is more than 0 to sufficiently the indicated frequency or the rate of 4% level. To total anything to compare the factor analysis, the same thing is what you told in previously explained to returns or returns level of the persons. So same thing is the second objective to meet this level. The reasons you found that after analysis that the study aimed to measure thing is a significant market investment in this derivative segment of stock market to change investor opinion towards the derivative market, because of the everyone is the use that when you heard about this derivative segment, and as usual compared to it is a big risky for the influence by the somebody, but here it is not. You are a technically and who are a financial literacy have a based upon the definitely will get, you definitely grab that your returns from the stock market. The here is for person who have a sound technology and definitely get the high returns and time settlement of returns and minimize risk convenience. So these persons is definitely will meet the optimum level of profits. And operational problem faced who are that investors major margin calculation while you are investing in the stock market. More of thing you think before you invest in the volume of your turnover. And the second one is the lack of information tax. But once we are investing in the tax, but the tax exemption also will be benefited for the invest in the stock market. And the technical problem will is move prices to premium levels also you can observe that before that invested. The regulatory bodies also like SEBI. So to monitoring the investors the time to timely to who are investing to take care of the baby step to invest in all your financial literacy support in the major research. The final of the conclusion, the derivative segment of stock market is a country have a significant growth of economy in the past decades due to the worldwide. It is like you are taking of the USA and some Euro countries is a boom of the investment of the stock market. Here is a derivative segment is meet for investors who are multiple their returns, not only for the commodity and equity, as like is a to derivative markets high risky, but compared to cash and commodity market, which is regulatory others how to bring abandon into the area of information flow in that technical problem and tax assessment to resolve the problem of who are thoroughly invested into derivative market to take care of their investment and to give a support of the fundamental analysis. Thank you, sir. Thank you, listeners who are in this.
Thank you, Sujata, for your wonderful presentation. I hope, yeah, thank you. So any other presentation left for the day, or are we done? I just want to quickly go through the presentations which are left. Do we have Prabhakar Deshpande and Malik is done, right? And Lucy is done. Koshna, I think it's done. Do we have Wilfosh? Design of sub-recurrent frequency control series, inductive wireless power transmission. Anyone from this? Okay. Kalin, Gayatri. Okay. Henry Francis. Okay. Do we have Prabhakar Deshpande?
I have already presented. My name is Henry Francis.
Yeah. Henry Francis is done, right?
Yeah.
Correct. Anepe is done, correct. Prabhakar Deshpande is done. Mallika is done. Lucy is done. Mahavir, Mahavir, is it done? Do we have Mahavir with us? Nikhil Sharma? Okay. Do we have Ridwanullah? Mohammad Ridwanullah? Evelyn Forno? Okay. Anthony Paul Andros? Mohammed, okay, with I believe Manpreet Kaur. So I think no presenters are left. All are done for the day. Hope all the presentations are done for the day. Any presentations left? Okay.
Sorry, we thought your scheduled time was coming later.
Your paper ID. Your paper ID.
Yes, but my co-presenter is joining now.
You can share your paper. If you have not done, please share your presentation now.
She has
support for lecturers transformation from technology free to technology based lecturing at private higher education institute, right?
She has the presentation. Let me quickly call her to join.
Okay, please quickly go ahead with the presentation and wind it up by 5 minutes. I hope except Gumbont, any other presentations are left, let me know in the chat box. If not, we will be winding it up. So please share your presentation. And also everyone to turn on your video for keep your video on. By the time after this presentation, we will be taking a group photo as academic purpose. You can use it and for the documentation also from our side. Gumbo, can you start presentation? Jacqueline, can you start presentation?
I don't have the presentation with me, but my co-presenter is. I'm calling her to join now.
Yeah, he is here. Your co-presenter is here.
Oh, is she here? Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thanks. All right.
Can you inform your co-presenter to present?
Hello, I'm just opening up the presentation.
Okay, please.
Okay, hello everyone. Can you see my screen?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, good afternoon everyone. My name is Jacqueline Applesamy. Together with me is my co-supervisor, co-presenter is Professor Mshaki Gombo from the University of South Africa. And today we'd like to present to you our findings from our research. The topic is support for lecturers transformation from a technology-based, from technology-free to technology-based lecturing at a private higher education institution. My presentation today will focus on the introduction, a bit of theory on the community of inquiry. We'll talk about support for lecturers transformation in lecturing, differences between technology-free and technology-based lecturing. I'll explain to you the methods that we used in our study. I'll share the findings and then some recommendations, and lastly, a conclusion. Yes, this is some introduction. Why is teaching with technology important, and why do our lecturers require support? So one of the things we found is many of our lecturers are digital immigrants. They, when they were taught long ago, they were not exposed to technology, and now they're the ones that's got to actually use technology in the classroom. And we want to find out how can we support our lecturers to use technology in the classrooms. We also see with the COVID-19 pandemic that many educational practitioners had to use technology, and one of the biggest factors is they struggle to adapt to using technology. We've got Prinsky over there, and he defined the term digital immigrant as someone who has not been exposed to technology at an early age, yet most of our teachers and students now who have little experience with technology have to teach with it. And then the last thing is, how can we make teaching with technology effective? How can we use technology and make it effective? And one of the factors over there is we've got Dunbar. It says that in order to make teaching with technology effective, we need to focus on the pedagogy of teaching with technology. Which brings me to the theory. The theory of teaching with technology is we've got Garrison and Arberg, who talks about the community of inquiry, and they share guidelines how to use technology in an online blended learning sort of platform. And they speak to three components that if we adopt these three components, effective teaching and learning will take place in an online environment. They talk to social, cognitive, and teaching presence, which I will elaborate further. So when you talk to social presence, we talk to, or Garrison talks to about the lecturer creating a presence socially a safe environment in the online platform for students to engage, communicate freely in that presence or on the platform. Then they talk to creating a cognitive presence, and here the lecturer or the teacher has to look at ways and how they can stimulate critical thinking on the online platform, such as the learning management system, which we use for this particular study. Ways they can do that is either through online tests, through having online discussions or blogs. And then lastly, we talk to teaching presence. And here it's the lecturer or teacher's got to create or facilitate the learning in the online platform by providing constructive feedback, being present in the online platform, be it synchronous or asynchronous. And that teaching presence really binds the whole community of inquiry with teaching and learning in terms of the social and cognitive presence as well. Then just some theories around support for lecturers and how we can assist in what the literature says about how we can transform lecturing by supporting lecturers. Particularly in South Africa, we find that our teachers in this pre-service training, they trained on how to use a computer, how to use the components of the computer. But when it comes to the design of teaching with technology and looking at how we can integrate technology into the teaching, that's limiting, and it's not really evident in South Africa. So a big focus needs to be on training our teachers, be it pre-service and in-service teachers about how we can integrate technology from a pedagogical aspect and also from the technical aspect as well. Okay, we've got John and Wheeler where he talks about also supporting teachers by having the inadequate staff and equipped staff to do so. So for example, looking at educational technologists who can train our teachers and lecturers to use technology, and also how they can design their lessons. And furthermore, is also having adequate IT support services. So for example, from desktop support or to network support in terms of if for example, the system is broken, or maybe they need a password reset and that sort of thing. So our IT support services can support as well. We find that our lecturers get really quickly frustrated when the system doesn't work, and it's something maybe as simple as maybe there's a short technical issue that our IT support services can assist on. And obviously providing continuous support in that space and training. Okay. And lastly, most importantly, for supporting our lecturers, they need to be involved in their own lecturer development plan and have sort of strategic goals and aspirations to incorporate technology into their lessons and make it purposeful. Okay, and then we ask the question, what's the difference between technology-free and technology-based learning, lecturing? Okay, so when we talk about technology-free, it implies the traditional way of lecturing, for example, face-to-face lessons versus technology-based. Lecturing incorporates technology into the lessons, for example, using Web 2.0 tools, learning management systems, also known as LMSs,
that
online
kindly,
videos.
take less time because, kindly come to conclusions and wind it up at hardly 2 minutes.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Yeah, and then lastly, for this particular study, we were training the lecturers on how to use learning management systems. Then, look, these were the methods. We used the qualitative exploratory approach, and we wanted to really investigate, how can we support the lecturers with using technology. Sampling there. And the collection methods were, we did interviews, observations, and then also used reports from the learning management system. Okay, most importantly, the findings. 3 key findings I would like to talk about is the transformation of lecturing with the LMS. I'll just talk to the headings there. We found that through the lecturers' lesson design, their lessons were more activity driven in terms of they're using technology in their classrooms. They gave more activities so students can do in the online platform. We also saw the lecturers were more competent to support our students by providing additional resources, videos on each chapter, notes, and they also provided auto-graded activities and tests. And other findings, we saw the resources available on the LMS, they would use that other than the textbook as well. So that was an additional resource. And then ultimately the synchronous communication and asynchronous. So when we come talk to the community of inquiry again, that teaching presence in the online platform was so important, and that they were able to do synchronously through Blackboard Collaborate, which is something similar to Zoom or Skype, and then also asynchronous through posting announcements on the learning management system. Then the second findings is the support offered. These were the questions we asked the lecturers: what type of training was offered, what workshops, when were the workshops, how did they find it, and then also were the individual sessions. And then just a quick summary, the extensive training was provided throughout the year, mainly beginning of the year, there was emphasis on that. In terms of feeling, they did feel overwhelmed. However, they also understood why it was important that they needed that training. And then lastly, there was also one-on-one support provided from the educational technologists. So the educational technologists, they would have provided support throughout the year. They were easily accessible, and also peer support was provided. Recommendations from the lecturers, they recommended that they wanted subject-specific support for the modules on the LMS. They also wanted how-to guides, and they also wanted additional training on pedagogy, on using technology. And then just in conclusion, we find it's important that we offer continuous support for lecturers on integrating technology. And we find it's relevant, obviously, now being through the pandemic as well. All stakeholders need to be involved in equipping our lecturers and students. And then also in terms of further research, what's the student experience in terms of the online space and how we can support them. Thank you. That's it from me. Forgive me for being so quick.
Thank you for quickly winding up and briefing up the presentation. Thank you. Well, thank you everyone. So we have come to the end of the session. Right. Thanks for your kind patience. It was indeed a long session. We wanted to end up by 5 was the target, but we just extended by almost 45 minutes. Maybe by taking a little bit more presentations and all, giving small time and extra presentation. Fine. Thank you for your kind patience, guys. Any like with respect to proceedings and certificates, you might be having doubts. So certificates will be given to you, or like will be sent to your email address, and also the the email proceedings also will be sent to you within a week. And all the papers presented will be published in the proceedings, and it may take maximum of 90 days, 3 months from now, basically, for publishing in the proceedings, right? So this is about the updates on proceedings, certificates, and Google certificate, Google indexed indexing and other things. So this is about overall brief about the conference. Thank you for your kind patience and waiting till almost like 4+ hours, right? So it was a long conference indeed. Thank you